Indian travelers will often ask you one question कि guaranteed sighting होगा क्या?
It really depends on your luck. You can't call a lions and say, come and say hello to my guest.
Correct. Is South Africa a great place for couples to go to?
I think South Africa is definitely the most gorgeous and the most comprehensive destination for couples or honeymooners. One of the top nationalities to jump off the Blokran's bridge. They are getting buses and buses of Indians to jump off the bridge.
You can also go whale watching.
I would not just say whale watching, but I would say the Marine 5 experience. You could see the penguins,
Okay.
the whales,
Yes.
the sharks,
Okay.
the seals,
Yes.
and the dolphins.
Whether it's a place like South Africa, whether it's a place like Australia or New Zealand or Japan, people often think that, okay, I'm going to go there once in my lifetime. But if you can try to go there 2 times, because you really explore the soul of a nation when you go there a second time. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life. I'm your host, Neil Patil. Now today, we are going to the southern tip of the African continent. We are going to South Africa to find out about what South Africa has to offer. In my opinion, it's a destination where you can do literally everything. If you like food, there is something there. If you like adventure, you can do something every single day. If you like wildlife, as you know, South Africa has a lot of wildlife. So who else to talk about South Africa than my friend Alpa? Now Alpa has been responsible for growing South Africa to what it is for the Indian traveler today over the last 10 or 15 years. Now Alpa, thank you so much for coming on Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life. I often like to start with 2 things. One, how many times have you been to South Africa? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
First and foremost, thank you, Neil, for having me on this show. I think it is a big honor to be here. Thank you for this opportunity. I've been associated with South Africa for almost 5 years with South African Airways and 12 years with South African Tourism. Coming to your question on how many times I've been there, I think I've stopped keeping a track. But if I had to put a number to it, it would be anywhere between 60 to 70 times.
60 to 70 times to one country. That's crazy. You know, a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago, I did an episode with Devika Abraham from Zermatt, and she also mentioned that she's been to Switzerland more than 100 times. Now, when you go to one country so many times, you probably have visited everything, right, in South Africa?
Yes, of course.
Now, of course, you will have 100 reasons to visit South Africa. But after visiting the country so many times and knowing the Indian market, knowing the Indian traveler, give me 3 reasons. 3 reasons why one should visit South Africa.
I think if I had to, there are various reasons, but if I have to pick the 3 important ones, one is, of course, variety of experiences. There's so much to do in South Africa. I think what Indians want to do is a lot of things in one itinerary and one holiday, and South Africa has it all. So variety of experience, whether it could be scenic beauty, that's mountains or beaches or vineyards or a desert or game reserves, all and beautiful sunsets. Adventure activities you mentioned, safaris, excellent safaris, great food, great wine. So everything packed in one holiday. So variety of experiences is one of them. Secondly, I would also say value for money.
Okay.
Whether it's accommodation, whether you want B&Bs or you would want hotels or you would want lodges or 5-star luxury accommodation, it fits every person's pocket. Activity-wise, I think if any person has a bucket list of things to do in their lifetime, South Africa is a place to do it. Because the activities are so economical. I think, the Blokran's bungee, which is like the highest commercial bridge bungee in the world, it costs something like 1,700 rands.
And how much would that be in Indian rupees?
A rand is approximately 4.5 to Indian rupees. So it's around 7,000 rupees. So
it's much cheaper than various other places that offer bungee jumps. Right?
Exactly. So South Africa is the place to go and tick all your things to do in your lifetime. So go there and complete your bucket list of things.
I remember the trip that we did. I think it was 2017. That was my first time to South Africa. And in the travel industry, listeners, we have something called familiarization trips. And Alpa was kind enough to take us on a fam trip like that. And I remember day 2 we did bungee, day 3 we did paragliding, day 4 we did something where we went to an ostrich farm.
Yeah.
Day 5 we did meerkat tours. Day 6 we were in Addo National Park counting the number of elephants that were there. Day 7 we did kayaking.
Yeah.
Day 8 we were at Kango Caves doing zip lining, and every day was something like that. And that's when it really convinced me, because most destinations around the world really talk about, oh, there's so much adventure and all of that. But when every day you can do something that is different, was incredible, amazing. I don't know how to put it. So Alpa, in the month of April, Heta and I welcomed a baby girl.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And before deciding her name, we were setting travel goals for her. And when we were setting travel goals for her, we actually set goals which are very ambitious, I think. About 25 countries by the time she's 5, 50 countries by the time she's 10, and then so on. Now, if you're setting these ambitious travel goals, it is highly likely that South Africa will be among the first few countries that she will visit. So, a question comes to mind: is South Africa a kid-friendly destination?
Oh, definitely. I think we've seen so many families go to South Africa, and considering Indians are also such big family travelers, it's a perfect destination for you to take Raya there.
So Raya's a month and a half. What is an appropriate age when we should take her? Because you don't want to take her when she's too young, doesn't understand anything, but at the same time you don't want to take her much older also, because it's just too late. And so what do you think?
Maybe after she's 4 or 5, there are a lot of things she will understand while seeing the animals. When she's in a game reserve, when there's a kid-friendly game reserve, she can do something called the Junior Game Rangers course.
Okay, what is that?
So it's quite interesting, when they go and become junior game rangers themselves. They, they're given a backpack and study books, and they go with the rangers and see the pug marks and understand which animal it could be, in which direction they've gone to, seeing the dung of the animal and trying to understand which animal that could be, the different aspects of the bush. When I was in one of the game lodges, I spent half an hour seeing 2 dung beetles fight with each other. It was so fascinating for me. Imagine Raya. I would love to see something like that.
How long is a course like this?
It could be in around 2-3 days. And it's just that they get to learn so much, explore so much. And I think by the end of it, I think she'll feel that she's smarter than you, and she'll come and ask you, Neil, or Papa, why is a giraffe's neck so long? And you wouldn't have any answer, but she would have so many stories and so many things to tell back home in the school that she's experienced so much. It's really fun.
Oh, that's quite nice. Now, you mentioned a lodge right now, right? What should one expect when they go to a lodge, right? Because the first time you saw South Africa, because wherever Bollywood goes, Indian travelers go, right? And Sun City was shown in the movie Hera Fairy, and that's when people started going there. So, the Sun City is more like a resort. But what is a lodge? It's a complete different thing. So I thought we'll set expectations also for our listeners. What really is a lodge?
Sun City actually became popular way back. Aishwarya Rai was crowned Miss World there.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes, the first IFA happened in Sun City.
Uh-huh.
You're coming back to your question on the lodge. The lodge is basically a holistic experience of experiencing wildlife. You're literally staying in the middle of the jungle, the forest, So it's the whole experience of going on game drives, experiencing food, and just being in nature, and even when you sleep in the night and you hear sounds of nature, that's quite fascinating.
So now let's move from kids to actual couples, right? And often one question everyone who's getting married gets asked is, where are you going for your honeymoon? So I don't only want to talk about a honeymoon, but one, is South Africa a great place for couples to go to? And what are the different activities that couples can really do in a place like South Africa?
I think South Africa is definitely the most gorgeous and the most comprehensive destination for couples or honeymooners. I think it's got so much to offer, whether if the couple wants to be secluded, in places like Kakakama in Cederberg, or Grootbos Private Nature Reserve, which has, adults only, lodge called the Forest Lodge. Or you would want the hustle bustle of city life. Johannesburg, Cape Town is just amazing. Or just driving around the garden route and seeing small little towns and, just finding a beautiful spot. Or doing sundowners on a private yacht in Cape Town or in Nyasna. I mean, because South Africa is so much of experiences, every day you're discovering yourself and you're discovering your partner. I think it's just a perfect way to start a life with your partner, and I think create lifetime memories.
So Alpa, I was talking to Sunila yesterday, and as we record this episode, Sunila is in the US, and Sunila was like, Neil, you ask Alpa all of the questions you want to, but there's one question from me that you should ask Alpa, and that was that if someone wants to do a luxury holiday trip to South Africa, and when it comes to luxury, there is no upper ceiling for price, or there's no budget or anything like that. So what is a luxury experience like in South Africa?
I would like to put this itinerary wise. Okay. If you land
that's a good way to put it.
Yes. You land into Johannesburg. Of course, the best place to stay is the Oriel Grand in Emperor's Palace. You actually feel like it's a palace. The rooms are excellent. Their fine dining restaurant is also called the Rain, like the Emperor's Rain. Yes. And then, of course, Emperor's Palace has this whole complex with like a food court, including an Indian restaurant, the American Hooters nightclub. It has a casino, lots of entertainment.
So basically one place where you can do everything.
Exactly. So Emperor's Palace. Then of course going to Kruger, there are many, many beautiful luxury game lodges that one can stay in. Some of my favorites are Sabi Sabi, the Lion Sands, and one of the unique ones that has recently opened is the Kruger Shalati train on the bridge. It's an accommodation built on a bridge, which is, I think, the bridge is 109 years old. Yeah. Coming to the Western Cape now, in Cape Town has many luxury accommodations. One of the unique ones is the Silo, which I think it's an architectural masterpiece.
Why do you say that?
Yeah, you look at the pictures, it looks very different, and also there's history. It was built on the elevator portion of a grain complex, the Silo grain complex. The 12 Apostles is a beautiful property. It is, on the coast, and you can see the beautiful views of the Atlantic Ocean.
So the 12 Apostles in South Africa,
yes,
of course.
We have it's not just a hotel, but we have the 12 Apostles.
Oh, really?
We have the 12 Apostles on the land.
Oh,
yes, at Camp Spain.
Because everyone connects the 12 Apostles to Australia, right? Because Melbourne and then the Great Ocean Route. But I didn't know that too.
That's on the ocean, we have it on the land.
What other lodges come to mind?
Then of course our very own, the Taj group of hotels. We have the Taj Cape Town, which was actually, it was actually the ancient South African Reserve Bank of building.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
Yes, it's got history to it. In the Winelands again has beautiful properties, like the Delargraph is stunning, but Liu Collection, owned by our very own Analjeet Singh. I think when Mr. Singh his love affair for South Africa started when he went for the 2010 FIFA World Cup. And he loved the place so much that he actually started off with Liu Collection, after visiting South Africa. Then, of course, if you like train journeys, Rovos Rail, very, very luxurious, the vintage trails, vintage train journey. The most popular one is, of course, from Pretoria to Cape Town. So,
can you stay on the train?
Yes.
Yes. That's also an amazing thing. I didn't know of that.
And not to forget, Grootbos Private Nature Reserve. I think it's a hidden gem in South Africa, in a place called Gansbaai. It's about 2 hours from Cape Town, and that is where it's in the Cape Floral region.
So when you say 2 hours from Cape Town, is it by car or by car?
Yeah, by car. So it's in the Cape Floral region. Neil, there are 6 floral regions in the whole world. Yeah, and this is the smallest, but one of the floral regions, and it has the Fynbos plantation there, and doing the whole Marine 5 experience, the flower safari experience over there at Grootbos. It's absolutely stunning.
Awesome. That gives us a good idea of what luxury travel could be like. And sometimes people are just looking at, okay, I'm going to do a trip, but what other experiences can you have when it comes to accommodation also are something that you really touched upon. So thanks for that. Now let's come to the cultural bit, and we want to dive into your personal experiences about South Africa. Now, another time when we were exposed to South Africa was during the 2003 Cricket World Cup, where between the innings there used to be a show called Extra Innings, and they used to have an amazing backdrop of Table Mountain. And that's when people were like, how can a mountain be so flat? And of course, Table Mountain has different types of activities and all of that. So sports is a large part of the culture, but more than sports also, like, what is the cultural aspect that one can experience in South Africa, and what has your personal experience been like?
I think sports is something that really binds the country together. They love their sports. I think it goes on in every household. Football, cricket, rugby. These are widely followed by everyone in South Africa, and it's quite a common practice. To call it's like a common thing for South Africa to call people over on a weekend for a braai.
What's a braai?
Braai literally means barbecue.
Okay.
So you call people over for a braai, and then you watch sports, discuss politics, sports, and of course there's lots of wine and beer going on.
Have you been to any braai?
Yes, I have. Just last year in November, I was invited by a family in Hermanus for a braai, and it was Diwali.
Okay.
So they had organized a beautiful braai for me and my husband, and I'm a vegetarian. So there was barbecue for vegetarians, vegetable, and of course my husband is a non-vegetarian, so he enjoyed his sausages and his meat. Yeah.
I mean, the food in South Africa is something else, right? And what are different food experiences that non-vegetarians like me and vegetarians like you can really enjoy?
Everyone can survive there. For the non-vegetarians, it's a feast. From your exotic game meat to your ostriches, crocodiles. This is like quite common in South Africa. But even for a vegetarian or a vegan, it's quite easy to survive in South Africa. I mean, the food is fantastic. Even the South African cuisine, for example, the bunny chow.
What is that?
Bunny chow is it is an invention, I would say, by local Indians in Durban. It's a dish from Durban. It's actually a bread loaf. It's a hollow bread loaf, and there's a lot of curry inside that. So I would say it's an invention because in previously when Indians were taken to South Africa, as sugarcane laborers, it was easy for them to transport their curries in the bread loaf.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it's got its popularity from there.
What are your 3 favorite dishes?
I think I love the Malwa pudding.
Okay.
It is a dessert. It's a Cape Dutch dessert. It's a baked dessert with a lot of cream and vanilla topping on it. It's just beautiful. I also like something called the Cook Sisters.
Okay.
Which is equivalent to I would say like the gulab jamun that we have, but it's again a Cape Mali dessert that people enjoy there. It's fried dough, and it has toppings of cinnamon and sugar syrup on it.
Okay, so those are 2. One
and well, I indulge a lot in alcohol when I'm in South Africa. I love their wines.
Yeah.
But of course, of recently, there's a lot of culture of craft beer and gin happening in South Africa.
Okay.
It's becoming a hot spot for craft beer.
So are there like breweries and distilleries that you can visit?
Yes, you can. In fact, their gins, there's a plantation in South Africa, especially in the Western Cape. It's called Fynbos.
Okay.
So there are Fynbos flavored gins, which are really, really amazing. And not to forget Amarula.
Okay,
which is made out of marula fruit.
The liqueur, right?
Yes. I think it's a better version than Baileys. And so I really love to indulge myself into good wines and
So, a question just popped out in my mind. So I'm just going to ask you straight up. Whenever Indians travel abroad and people who like their alcohol like to stop at duty free and bring back 2 bottles because 2 bottles per person are allowed. And that's why when someone's in a group and they are like non-alcoholics, people are excited because I'm going to take their 2 bottles as well, right? So what alcohol should one bring back from South Africa?
Definitely their wines. And
Only the wines?
And off lately, even their gins.
Okay.
It is just, I mean, their gins are just fantastic.
Any wines or gins that come to your mind?
I think if there are many Fynbos flavored gins that I would recommend, and also the wines. I think South Africa is very popular for the pinotages.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is something you'll definitely
Definitely.
recommend. That's good. Speaking of the ocean, you can also go whale watching, right? In
Yeah.
South Africa. Where's that?
That's also in a couple of places. Ganspa is one of them. Nice one of them. So I would not just say whale watching, but I would say the Marine 5 experience.
What is the Marine 5?
So you could see the penguins,
Okay.
the whales,
Yes.
the sharks,
Okay.
the seals,
Yes.
and the dolphins.
How is the wildlife in South Africa? Where are we going on game drives in a very open space, or is it something different?
You are in an open space. There are a lot of places in South Africa where you can add in your wildlife experience. You're in the garden route, you can add in the wildlife experience there as well, like the way we had done it.
Yes.
If you're close to Sun City, there are places like Madikwe where you could go and experience wildlife, Johannesburg. Well, I think my personal favorite is the Kruger National Park, because it is the mummy, daddy, or whatever you can say of national parks, So it's very, very huge. It's as big as Wales. So that's the place I would love to go for a wildlife experience.
So, two things, okay? One is the Kruger and one is the garden route that you mentioned. Let's talk about Kruger first. Now, whenever you think of a national park, you think of like, okay, going on a game drive, probably going one day and coming back. So when you do Kruger, how long should you actually devote to spending at Kruger?
Honestly, it depends on the amount of time you have to stay in South Africa. Minimum number of nights, I would recommend that minimum is about 2 nights. Because
2 nights.
if you are staying in a game lodge for 2 nights, you get to experience at least 4 safaris. And that is what you would want, And you feel so close to nature that sometimes you wish you had more time.
Yeah.
Because you just want to go there in the bush and see everything that nature has to offer.
I think that's a good way to put it. So 2 days or 2 nights at
2 nights,
Kruger
4 safaris.
is what you recommend.
Yeah.
Now, if someone's going to South Africa for the second time and they've already spent the 2 nights at Kruger, does it make sense going back to Kruger?
Of course. Kruger has so much to offer, and you will always feel short of how much ever time you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Whenever I have gone on a game drive, I like to play a game where, I am with my travel companions and I tell them that, okay, let's place bets on how many of a particular animal that we'll see. And I've always noticed that's a fun thing, because sometimes you're just waiting in the jeep or the car that you're using for the safari, and sometimes it can just be like you've not sighted anything, right? Because animals can be quite shy. But Indian travelers will often ask you one question: ki guaranteed sighting hoga kya? Like, will there be a guaranteed sighting? And I think I've heard that Africa or South Africa is a place where there are more chances than normal to see the big five. Would you agree?
Like I said, it really depends on your luck. You can't call a lion and say, come and say hello to my guest.
Correct.
You can't. It really depends on your luck. South Africa, safaris and Kruger are very, very different. It's the bush.
Yeah.
Right? So, and like you mentioned, I think people should go there with an open mind, because it's not possible that you don't see anything.
Yeah.
It is not possible. Yes, you may not be able to tick all the big five sometimes.
Yeah.
But, the birds, the small five. Like I mentioned, I spent half an hour seeing the dung beetle fight with each other. It's like we were going back from an evening safari, and the guy gets down and picks up a stem, and he shows us a chameleon was wrapped around the stem. I mean, going back to the lodge in the dark, only a spotlight, and he could spot something like this. Seeing the dung of the animal, and they was like, this is a white rhino, and he would explain why you're going to see the white rhino next. And I think every safari is a whole new learning experience, and I think that's just the smell of the bush, the air, the landscape, everything about the bush is fascinating.
It's quite clear from the passion with which you speak that it's about immersing yourself in the experience and not just going there for a photo opportunity or something like that. I still remember when we went along the garden route, we did the meerkat tours where you made us wake up way early, and we just had to go and sit in our picnic chairs sipping coffee and seeing these meerkats coming out of their burrows and just walking around. So I think it was a very calming, it was a very serene experience. So let's come to the garden route now. One is, why is it called the garden route? Because it is one of the most famous things of South Africa. And second, I still can't recall the number of places we did, because when you sent us the travel plan for that trip, I remember it was 11 days and we were just hopping from one place to another. And at the start, and of course my friends Arjun and Anosh were also there, and I was telling them that, guys, I don't know Alpa, I've never met her, but she sent this plan, and don't you think this is too busy? And both of them were like, listen, you've never been to South Africa, we have, and we know how cool this plan sounds. And I was like, okay, let's go on the ride. And probably at the end of the 11th day, as I was on that Emirates flight coming back to India, I could really say that, this was probably one of the best trips I've ever done. And we started in George and we ended in East London. I remember that. So why is it called the garden route, and what's so unique about it?
The garden route, of course, it's scenic, it's beautiful. Contrary to its name, there's many gardens. That's not the reason. But yes, it is beautiful. And talking about your trip, Neil, that was the theme of that trip, that we wanted to include all and show you all the activities that these small little towns in the garden route have. Garden route, of course, it begins from Mossel Bay and it ends right up in the Eastern Cape towards Tsitsikamma. And every town in garden route is unique in its own way. I mean, Mossel Bay itself, it has a beautiful coastline. One of the experiences in Mossel Bay, it has the longest across the ocean zipline.
Across the ocean zipline?
Yes.
Why did we do it? was it there? It wasn't there.
It wasn't there at that point.
So the longest zipline across an ocean.
Yes, you can skydive there. I know we did the paragliding as well in the garden route, in the wilderness area. And George is also so beautiful. Beautiful golf courses, great outdoor things to do. Picking strawberries is one of the things we had done. Naisna is beautiful in its own way. It's called the jewel of the garden route. It's stunning. The Naisna Lagoon, the Naisna Heads, going on a yacht along the lagoon. It's got beautiful forests. And of course, the food in Naisna is amazing. You had the oysters. You can talk about that. Plettenberg Bay is like the hub of adventure activities. It's close to Tsitsikamma. That's where the block run spongy is. And a lot of adventure activities. And for people who do not want to, indulge into extreme adventure, there is the Birds of Eden, the Monkey Land, a lot of experiences. Otsrun is the ostrich capital of the world. So many ostrich farms, and you will learn the whole life cycle of an ostrich. You can go feed an ostrich from the bucket. So it's quite interesting. Plus, Otsrun has the Kango Caves, the Kango Wildlife Ranch, and one of the experiences we spoke about is meerkat. The meerkats are endemic to that area, or probably in the Northern Cape, in the Kalahari Desert, where you can spot them.
Yeah, that trip was something else, and we really did a lot during that entire trip, and it was crazy things. I remember we also were on that party bus one night and we did a whole lot. Now, should garden route be a part of your first trip to South Africa? Because Cape Town is also a highlight, and I will come to that because, can't end an episode of South Africa without Cape Town. But should it be on your first trip or should it be on your second trip? Or you can because our trip was 11 days, right? Not everyone wants to just do garden route 11 days because there's Kruger, Cape Town, all of these other things. So what are some of the best things of the garden route that you can probably bring into your first trip?
I think it's probably just do the highlights of Otsrun and Naisna for the first timers. Of course, you come back for the second time to explore more of it. And really, Neil, depends on how much time you have on your first trip. If you just have about 7 to 8 days, I would just recommend Cape Town and Kruger.
Okay.
Just do the important highlights of South Africa. If you have more time, continue on to the garden route. A second time, I would love to go to, to do more of things around the Kruger National Park. We've got the panorama route there, which is stunning. The Drakensberg area close to Durban is absolutely beautiful, and a lot of adventure activities over there. So Durban, the Drakensberg area is also great place to be. There's lots to do for a second timer. If you're there in like July, August, there's a place called Namakwa Land.
Okay.
Which is unexplored, and it's this entire carpet of flowers, like more than 3,000 species of flowers you would find, which are endemic and rare and found only in that particular region. It is so beautiful. So yeah, there is lots to do for a second, third, fourth timer as well.
I often tell people that, don't just go to one country once, because of course you're going to the country, you're ticking off that country, but whether it's a place like South Africa, whether it's a place like Australia or New Zealand or Japan, people often think that, okay, I'm going to go there once in my lifetime. But if you can try to go there 2 times, because you really explore the soul of a nation when you go there a second time.
Yeah.
Now, we've been talking for the last 25-30 minutes about South Africa. Now, let's come to Cape Town. Okay. Table Mountain exists, but your top tips to explore Cape Town, because there's a lot that you can do, but we want to hear Alpa's tips, Alpa's personal anecdotes where you can tell us what Cape Town is about.
Well, I think it's a city that attracts tourists from all over the world, and not just a first timer, but even if you're going there for a second time, you would want to go back to Cape Town. It's a city it's a 20-minute city, so everything is like close by.
Oh, really?
Beautiful city. The views are stunning. The food is great. The nightlife is great. So everything about Cape Town is stunning. The Table Mountain, as you know, it's the most popular spot, but do it differently. You can go trekking on the Table Mountain, or you can do abseiling from the Table Mountain.
Okay.
You can come down. It's quite adventurous. When you get down from the Table Mountain from that height and you see the city in the backdrop, you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, am I going to be safe? I don't want to fall down from this height. But it's quite a unique experience to abseil from the Table Mountain.
So Alpa, that was the Table Mountain and Cape Town. Now, I want to talk about Joburg, but before that, have you missed out on any experiences that you would really like to bring to light here?
I think just driving around Cape Town. I think I recently I did a trip with my husband, and he wanted to drive a Shelby Cobra.
Okay.
So, we just hired one, and we were driving around the beautiful coastline and, right up to Camps Bay. So it was quite a different experience. The atmosphere is so great. The weather is so great that you really want to, be out there in the open. In Cape Town, I think, there's this whole culture also about doing sundowners. So being at Camps Bay and, enjoying the sundowners, that's a great thing that you could do. And going right up to Cape Point and Cape of Good Hope, that's of course one of the common things that is included in every itineraries, because it is so beautiful. But another excursion that, if you have more time, you should include is Cape Agulhas.
Okay.
That's the place where the 2 oceans meet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Indian.
Cape Agulhas.
Yes, the Indian and the Atlantic Ocean, which is actually the southernmost tip of the African continent.
And how far is it from Cape Town?
About an hour.
Oh, that's it. Then definitely, because such points are really unique, right? Where 2 oceans meet, and I think I would put that on my bucket list. I have not done that. Now, let's come to Joburg, because we've not spoken about Joburg. What's there to see in Joburg, and what has your experience been like?
I think Johannesburg is like this melting pot of the African culture. Very popularly known as Josie.
Okay.
Yeah, the nickname is Josie. I love Johannesburg, the whole city life, the hustle bustle, and there are so many things over there also you could do, because it's not included in many itineraries of tourists over here. One of my favorite things to do is the Cradle of Humankind.
Okay.
That's the place where the first fossils of humankind were found.
Okay.
Yes. So there's a place called Sturkfontein Caves. In fact, the whole Cradle of Humankind is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Archaeological work is still going on there. The most famous Littlefoot and Mrs. Pless were found in the Sturkfontein Caves.
Okay.
There is another very nice activity over there called the Maropeng Center, which is quite a unique entertainment center. In fact, you should take Raya there once she understands a lot of things. you learn so much when you're there. The extinction of the dinosaurs, the formation of the earth. The earth was a form of, it was a ball of gas, the formation of different continents, how the world population is increasing every fraction of second, and so many things. You can spend hours and hours reading everything about the planet that we are living in.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Let's end the episode with anything that you want to tell our listeners and viewers, maybe about South Africa, maybe some travel tips that you may have, or anything about it.
I think South Africa is a destination that surprises you.
Mm-hmm.
You go to South Africa with a different perception and you come back feeling wow. So it exceeds your expectations. So South Africa is one of those. Give South Africa time.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to rush in within a week or something. I've seen itineraries of now at least 2 weeks being sold out of the Indian market.
Yes.
Give it time and come back for a second time for more of South Africa.
I think let's end on that note, because I completely agree. I went to South Africa with a different perception, and when I came back, I was mind blown. I was in awe. I was just stumped with what it had to offer just for my experience. And I can't wait to go there with Heta and Raya, because that's something that has been on my bucket list for a long time. Alpa, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for this deep dive that we've done. Of course, if some of our listeners sat there with a notebook trying to create a list of experiences, I'm sure that list of experiences, if they noted down each and everything that you mentioned over the course of the episode, would be at least 35 to 40 things long. So thank you so much for coming.
It's my pleasure, Neil. Thank you for having me here.
Awesome. Listeners and viewers, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life. This was South Africa. Have you been there before? Are you planning a trip there? Let us know in the comments. And if you like this episode, of course, subscribe to it, give it a like, and of course tell your friends about it. Because when we travel, we celebrate life. And that's what we want you to do. We'll see you the next time. Until then, keep celebrating life. Bye.